And welcome to Ask the Experts here on Newstalk 1290 CJBK here on this Saturday afternoon, the 24th of December. The excitement, we can feel it, that's for sure. And always exciting when we welcome our real estate expert to the program, Joan Ball from LePage Triland Realty. Joan's phone number 519-672-9880, joanball.com, the website address, and generous Joan Ball, if I can call you that right now, Joan, because I want to thank you off the top for a nice, generous gift from you that was in my mailbox earlier this week.
Well, thank you for all you do.
Shush,
and helping me bring information to the general public related to real estate.
Well, thank you, and a Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy holidays, and we'll probably say that at the end of the program also. But at this time of year, Joan, if we can, and actually I received also in the mail your year-end newsletter, which was very nice, and a nice magnet that I have with the calendar as I put on the refrigerator every year from you. I think I've actually saved most of them also over the years. I put them in a little box. So I have a lot of them now. But reading the newsletter, very interesting as you reflect back on the year that was, 2022. Can you give us the overview, Joan, to start things off today?
Yeah, I think the one word that sort of encapsulates the reaction to this year is stunning. You know, we started off with just a frenzied market that was almost unheard of. And such a significant shortage of supply of properties on the market that drove prices just to insane amounts. And then the tap shut off. And we certainly found that with the reaction of the Bank of Canada to interest rates increasing, a significant slowdown on the number of buyers who were investing in properties, and yet still considered a balanced market, believe it or not. And I think that's really indicative of the fact that there still are a number of buyers that want to land somewhere or invest in a property, and still a shortage of listings. So we sort of see the going out of the year with sales down significantly last month as in comparison to previous years, and interest rates still continuing to creep up. I do expect at least one more increase into the new year. And I think by the time we get to spring, we're going to see a reinvestment from a number of buyers who are recognizing that with prices somewhat adjusting, it still is a very viable option as far as investing. And I do think that we will hit a minor recession, a mild recession, a soft recession into the new year, and then hopefully we'll be able to come through that. And we're still continuing to see a balanced market. So it really is not what we saw a year ago, but we'll plug along. And it is taking a little longer for properties to sell, but individuals are still recognizing some return on investment if they have bought in the last, I would say, 5 years.
Okay, good insight. Joan Ball here on Ask the Experts on Newstalk 1290. CJBK from LePage Triland Realty. You can reach Joan at 519-672-9880, joanball.com, the website address. And as I've been mentioning for, I don't know, has it been 15 to 20 years you've had your website, Joan, and there's always great information there. I will ask you just maybe your game plan. Say you were dealing with some people that were buyers. They were looking to buy a home. And without getting into specifics, because every month you do give a great market overview as far as, home sales and what they went for, asking overprice and that type of thing. But say a home on the market today that is going in the range for, let's say, $550,000 to $600,000, and it shows well and everything else. Would you be thinking that that is what we are going to have to offer in terms of, okay, we're going to, maybe offer what the home is being listed at, or are we still going above, or are there some cases where maybe we could go in a little lower just given the state of the market?
I'm certainly seeing a reaction that is coming in a little bit lower than list price in the event it is one offer. If it's multiple offers, I am seeing some, not all, go over list price, but not to the frenzy that we saw. Certainly, for example, you may see 10,000 over or 20,000 over. So that's sort of running the average of what you would see in the percentages. But the percentage of properties that are going over list price right now are significantly lower than they were a year ago. And so it really behooves the listing agent to list accurately and ensure that the marketing, you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's to get the exposure. At the end of the day, you have to take care of those minor repairs around the house and present it well. I am seeing that staging is becoming a vital component to getting a return on your investment. And I don't always agree with bringing in rented furniture. You can use what you have, reposition, purge, and just how it's presented will make a big difference to a prospective buyer coming in.
When you are presenting a listing, Joan, that say is yours, how are you trying to attract the buyers? Are there some things that stand out? Because it is competitive, especially right now, right? No matter what market we're in, buyers, sellers, it's always going to be competitive out there. Are there some things that you do to try to attract more potential buyers? Absolutely.
As a listing agent, I think that you need a professional photographer. That's my opinion. Yeah. I've always used a professional photographer. So I think that that's really important. I think your curb appeal, if you can't get the people in the door, you've already lost the war, so to speak. You really need to ensure that you are right from the moment they drive up to the front. You have to have that front elevation and how it presents itself. Especially coming into the winter, making sure that you have your pathways cleared and salted and everything is as appealing and inviting as possible. Don't give any signs that you're not living there if you aren't. Have those pathways cleared. And then when you get inside, make sure it's clean and neat and bright. Light bulbs replaced if they've burnt out, dusting, cleaning, making sure it's clean surfaces and how it's presented. Really dressing the beds in the bathrooms and the kitchen so that it's individual buyers can see themselves there, removing personal photographs so that your statement of being in the house is removed because you're trying to sell it. You're trying to sell someone else being invested in that space. So those are a lot of the things that help buyers see themselves there. And at the end of the day, it really purging and having, even if you have a storage area piled with boxes, make sure it's neat and tidy. And individuals are much more forgiving of those spaces and even perhaps the garage or an area of the garage so that they can envision their car parked in there, but understandably you've packed away some things because you are planning on moving.
Interesting. And all of those suggestions, Joan, hardly any of them really meant out-of-pocket expenses for the seller. Okay, maybe a couple of light bulbs if need be, which is also very, very intelligent to do because, we may live in our homes and think, oh, well, big deal, it's just one bulb out, but keep that brightness going for a potential buyer. Would there still be some areas that maybe a little bit of money needs to be invested to try to bring up the price of the home?
Absolutely. I think that sometimes painting the interior and freshening it up and even bringing it into a lighter palette perhaps might be warranted and give a return on investment. I have clients recently that did that, and we picked a color that my designer had chosen, and it just lifted the whole area. It made it look bigger and brighter, cleaner, and clean turns into money. So if it's perceived as bright and airy, it turns into money. Gone are the days where we want forest green walls, and that might be your choice. When you move in, feel free to do a dark accent wall. But when you're putting your property on the market, you really want to appeal to the masses and increase the opportunity for as many buyers as possible to see your home as a potential investment.
Joan Ball here on Ask the Experts on Newstalk 1290. CJBK, our real estate expert from Royal LePage Triland Realty. Joan's phone number 519-672-9880, joanball.com, the website address. And just before the first break, Joan, just to kind of wrap up what we are talking about, I'm just curious, are there things that when you walk into a home and say with the intention that the homeowners are selling, or even you're going in to introduce it to a potential buyer, where you see signs of wear and tear in a home? And I'm thinking back to years ago, I remember you talking about windows, and if there's moisture on windows, and if they were a wood-framed window, that could lead to potential things. Are there areas that you look at where you think, there's just overly wear and tear here in the home?
It's interesting. As you started posing the question, my mind always goes to windows. So you're absolutely right. So the fact that you remember that is awesome, because it's almost like shoes. When you meet somebody, and their shoes are well maintained and taken care of, that they've taken care of other aspects of their life. It's one of those things. I always say, if I've got nail polish on my nails, that I'm having a good day and I've got things organized. If I don't, then obviously things have gotten out of control.
Okay, I like that background.
But it's the same thing with a house. The windows are sort of that telling area that shows me whether they've maintained the house well. The furnace, have they piled stuff around the furnace? Make sure it has a clear airway around it and that a potential buyer can get to the furnace. They can examine the furnace. It's a fire hazard as well to have things piled against the furnace. Making sure that areas behind the fridge, if we can see them, or the stove, or it's clean and neat. You've taken and you've attended to those little details. The roof, it's been updated. The insulation, you've taken care of. There's some wonderful government grants to help you with insulation that really aren't that expensive and will save you money in the long run. So some of those maintenance, it's the items as you go along, and there's an expression in real estate. You pay as you go to update the house, or you pay when you go because you won't get as much for your house.
Excellent. Joan Ball on Ask the Experts here on News Talk 1290 CJBK. We'll pause for some important messages. Return with more here on Ask the Experts right after these. And welcome back to Ask the Experts on News Talk 1290 CJBK. Our real estate expert, Joan Ball, here on the program today. And you can reach Joan at Royal LePage Triland Realty by giving her a call at 519-672-9880, joanball.com, the website address. And I do want to also, as we look back on the year here on the program as well, Joan, congratulate you. You were re-elected to the Board of Directors for the London and St. Thomas Association of Realtors for another 2-year term, and that's kept you pretty busy. I know you're at least a couple of conferences out of town this past year.
Yeah, it's nice that they sort of compile them in an area and a time of year that I'm not busy with business. And it's been a tremendous opportunity to stay up on what's going on in the industry, and I think have somewhat of an edge on some of the particulars and the stats and the details. So it's really fine-tuned my information sort of retention and what I can offer. But I'm really proud to represent the Real Estate Association in this way. And we have a tremendous number of realtors that are very, very active volunteers. And I think it would surprise the general community how many realtors give of their own time on a volunteer basis to assist the communities throughout London and Middlesex.
Good point. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out for sure. Joan Ball here on Ask the Experts on Newstalk 1290 CJBK. Just with your role with the London and St. Thomas Association of Realtors, Joan, heading into a new year, 2023, and I know you've been part of many different meetings and sessions and such. Any changes in your industry coming up?
Well, there will be the foreign investor ban that's to come out in the new year. And the government is trying to get their head around this whole, how they're going to implement this. But there will be a 2-year ban on any foreign investor as a buyer in Canada. So we need to recognize how this is going to roll out. We haven't got all the details at this point, but it'll free up some of the opportunities, I do believe, for some of the local buyers and Canadian buyers where they haven't they've been in competition, let me put it that way. And that is certainly something new. They're also talking about opening up the transparency of any purchase, although that is still trying to be fine-tuned, needing all parties to agree with this transparency, and not everyone is, and they're still studying some of the other nations where they have done this, and it's actually led to higher prices, so that'll be an interesting one rolling out. And, of course, we'll be watching the interest rates and see where they go and how that impacts on inflation.
Can you just quickly touch on the transparency issue, Joan, and what that means?
So in a purchase, I do think it's almost a little late. This would have been nice when we were seeing multiple offers, and it's certainly more obviously apparent or necessary if there are multiple offers, and we're not seeing as many multiple offers now, and going forward we may see fewer and fewer. So this is where all parties, the buyers, would know what the other buyers are offering. They have done this in Australia, and they actually, Michael, oh gosh, I'm going to forget his last name. I think it's Morris at Ivy, had indicated that his research showed that the eventual price was higher. So buyers would pay more than they would have if it was a closed bidding war. So that we'll see how that unfolds, see how that's implemented, but that is certainly something that has been projected to happen.
Interesting. Joan Ball on Ask the Experts, Royal LePage Triland Realty, 672-9880, 672-9880. A number of great questions here in the mailbag, Joan, and I want to start off with Mandy and Trent because they've got a question about their interior paint colors, and you were touching on that a little earlier. Mandy and Trent say, we have some quite dramatic interior wall colors, and have heard that neutral colors are preferred by potential buyers. Could your expert weigh in on this?
Yes, actually, this is really key. You know, there's a simple way of presenting your property clean and neat. And, you know, sometimes it's not as expensive as people think. And if it's going to give you a return on investment, it's well worth your time and energy to do this. There is a company that my clients used recently that will go in 24 hours, 48 hours, and do the entire house. And so, wow, that's a huge return on activity, and you don't have to move anything. They move it all, and that's just wonderful. You may have to pack up some of your precious items or that kind of thing if you want to make sure that nothing happens to them. But as far as furniture, they move it all to the middle of the room, and they paint it all, and they lay paper, good solid paint-resistant paper on the floor, and in and out. And that in and of itself can add thousands in return to your property. Especially, you know, I like eclectic surroundings in my home. I do like dramatic colors, but it's been proven through the research that something a little bit more neutral, not necessarily white. There are some specific colors that if anyone wants to reach out to me, I certainly use, that go with just about anything. And it creates a neutral palette and really allows everyone to benefit from getting a sense of the space and presents your furnishings ideally so that a buyer would be attracted to your property.
And it is proven that the return is there, Joan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even, I obviously over the years we've done many and a variety of sort of spectrums of activity pre-listing. So carpets and, that kind of thing. We have some tricks and tips that help and will make a significant difference when you're putting your property on the market.
Joan Ball on Ask the Experts here on Newstalk 1290 CJBK from Royal LePage Triland Realty 519-672-9880 joanball.com, the website address. And on that note, Joan, about 6-8 months ago, a newer subdivision in the Colonel Talbot area, and I was buying something off of this guy that I'd seen online. He was getting rid of a good portion of the contents of his home, and so I was asking him about the selling process, and I said to him, because as I walked into it was the basement area, but it had a walk out to the backyard, nice bright room. However, the colors were like totally knock your socks off, like you were just wow. And I had you in mind because I said to him, oh, does your real estate agent have you doing anything to prep the home for sale? He goes, oh, what do you think they might want me to do? And I said, does it have anything to do with the colors? He said, bingo. And he was in the midst of getting that all set up to paint them in more neutral styles, as you suggest as well. So I guess it's kind of an obvious thing for most people, but do some not take that advice?
Some are very attached to their surroundings, and they really hang on to that ownership. And I think the skill is to help them recognize that this isn't their home anymore. Yeah. That if they want to leave money on the table, that is their choice. Right. But at the end of the day, my job is to help them find highest and best return on their investment. And so the input is there, and do all individual sellers take that and work with it? Not necessarily. Some will in time. They'll be convinced when the house sits there for a while, and I've had stories of years and years of stories of that happening. But at the end of the day, you've hired a realtor to do the job, and hopefully they have invested some time and energy into the research around what works, and therefore, listening to that, if it gives you a number, 5, 10, 50,000 more in your pocket. And I will tell you, recently I went in initially and told clients a certain price that they could expect on their property, and they ended up doing what we recommended and got another 70,000 in the pocket.
Wow, amazing. Joan Ball on Ask the Experts here on Newstalk 1290 CJBK. Back with more right after these. And welcome back to Ask the Experts with our real estate expert, Joan Ball from Royal LePage Triland Realty. Joan's phone number, 519-672-9880. And just less than a couple of minutes here left, Joan. I want to help Iris out here. She needs to know, I want to start looking at properties, but don't want to have a formal mortgage approval from a bank, as I'm not sure if I want to buy. Is this okay? And that's from Iris.
Actually, Iris, you're well advised to have approval, to seek a bank approval for what you could purchase, because how do you possibly know what price range you should be looking in? You might have, caviar taste, but a beer budget. And yet it might be the other way around, and you might comfortably know, okay, I'm very comfortable in this price range. This is where I want to go. Or you may choose to look in something a little lower than you're approved for, and that's fine. But you really, it's like taking your measurements before you go and buy a dress. You wouldn't go and buy a dress that's a size 5 if you're a size 12. And it's the same sort of thing. You really need to know what your budget is, understand where the financing will come from as far as deposits and down payments and that kind of thing. And the one thing I'm advising people of lately is if they're dealing with a digital bank, make sure that if they are searching for a property, they take the deposit. That's just the amount that's written on a bank draft or whatever for the initial agreement of purchase and sale. Take that out of their digital bank, because quite often those digital banks take 48 to 72 hours to get you their money, to get you your money, and that could impact on your contract and the legalities around your contract and what you agree to. So, I think it's really important to get all those ducks lined up regardless. And not just that, most agents, realtors, will expect that, because why would they invest time in you in looking at properties if you're not even ready? You don't even know if you're ready. So I think that, Iris, it would be good to sit down and talk to at least one financial mortgage specialist.
Joan Ball on Ask the Experts here on Newstalk 1290 CJBK here on this 24th of December. Last show with Joan before Christmas, and we won't talk to you until the new year. Joan, I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday break, and thank you so much once again for the very kind gift you sent my way earlier this week, and we will talk again in a couple of weeks.
All the best, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you. Joan Ball on Ask the Experts from Royal LePage Triland Realty, 519-672-9880, joanball.com, the website address. Thanks, everybody, for listening today here on Ask the Experts. As Joan just mentioned, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and also have a great day.